Is your father alive?
No, sir.
Are you married?
No, sir. I think, well, I'm not entirely sure where this line of questioning is leading. I am here as legate, aren't I?
Yes, but I need more than a legate. Orders from the Magister Militum. I need to secure my family line.
Secure it, sir. I met your young lad just recently. He seems perfectly healthy to me.
He's a bastard. Bit of a secret, actually. And I've no idea where the wife is these days. So hard to get one on the books officially.
Right. Well, I'm not actually the best man for advice on that.
No problem. You're my son now.
What?
I order you to accept my offer of adoption. Just say yes and stamp this.
I really don't think that's what the Magister had in mind.
Give me your hand. Come on. Stamp it. Stamp it. There you go.
This isn't legal.
Calm down. It doesn't really matter. Enjoy being my son. I'm going on campaign.
What? Wait, you can't just leave.
A son shouldn't question his father's wisdom, General. Bye.
Hello there, welcome back to Fields of Mars. In the previous episode we saw two large battles. The first one was a slightly chaotic battle where Julianus, despite some mistakes, managed to take down most of the Huns' remaining forces, and then we saw Uther try to stop the invasion by the Alamans and ultimately fail just down to having lower troop quality. Julianus though at least was able to subjugate the Huns as a result of his victory, so now everything they do have left is going to fight for us. We're going to take a look at the situation in Egypt, where things are a mess. Essentially, we've got a Lakhmid army standing on the east side of the Nile, a Garamantian army currently laying siege to Alexandria, and there's also a large rebellion building in the area as well. What I'm going to do to start off is get Anicius to adopt the Senate General sent down to defend Alexandria. He doesn't have a legitimate son, and we're going to get him one because he's failed to produce one so far, and fortunately we have lots of influence, so we can just forcibly adopt him essentially, which is what just happened. So now that will take a turn to go through, and in the meantime I could sort out some of the problems, but I've actually got something else in mind for Anicius. You can see the general leading the rebel army is also called Anicius Caesar. Perhaps Anicius has inspired some other commanders to take up his name, but anyway, what we're going to do is head east. I noticed down there that Makran have got a force near Berenice. We'll come back to that in a little bit. We're first just going to take this little port off the Lakhmids. The objective here is to stop the Lakhmids from constantly sending fleets to go and attack Berenice, which they've already done a million or so times. So Anicius goes in, misses with the stab, but the enemy dies all the same. We actually get a heroic victory in the auto resolve, so we're just going to very quickly get rid of this threat and destroy lots of enemy forces along the way, so that's nice. And we'll just liberate it and make it into Judea as a new Roman-style faction to hold this area for us, and they may even start helping us out in the wars if the Sassanids declare war on them, which they probably will, because Sassanids seem to just declare war on everyone who borders them at the moment. So with that done, the situation in Egypt should be stabilised long term. We've still got the short term problems to deal with, but that's going to be a lot easier now that we're not constantly being attacked from the sea. The rebel army goes right for Alexandria in the end turn sequence, which is a poor choice. You can see they don't have a chance of taking it. We've got a very large army inside when you combine all of the stuff that's sitting around here, although I noted that some of my guys have both smallpox and measles. It's not going very well for the people of Alexandria, but that's not going to stop them from cutting down that rebel army nice and easy. Now jumping far back over to the west, the Alemans appear to be setting something up near Tyrannum, although they haven't gathered enough forces to take it, so I'm going to ignore them for now. The real threat is Lugdunum, because it's only got 4 units inside it, and it could be taken at any time, and it's even under siege by a Varynian army, which for some reason hasn't taken it. What I can do though is move Uther over with a small army to sit just about in reinforcement range of the city, so if the Varynians make an assault, we will at least have the option of reinforcing it with a few units, which might make it possible to win, especially when you consider that we'll have the walls to slow the enemy down. Now Septimus is going to move out, having sat in Caesarea Eusebia for ages and finally secured it, somewhat at least. He's able to hit Myra and try and do what Cullio couldn't by taking the port. This time, not much around to stop us from doing so, so it's actually pretty easy. We'll just storm right on in, and we will occupy this settlement. We are slowly but surely capturing all of Anatolia here. We're not really holding it. It's in terrible condition, just like most of the Empire, due to our very large public order debuffs from immigration, which have been hounding me for the whole campaign. But at least in terms of map colour, we control a lot of this territory. I'm moving down this second General Costa, who'll come into things a little bit later on in the campaign, but right now I was just moving him down to support Septimus, and I'm actually going to replace him with Septimus's son, Murna. He's not very suitable for campaigning this area because he likes Easterners and has foreign interests, 2 negative traits that don't seem very appropriate, but he'll have to do for now. Back to Anicius. He's going to go south with the objective of sorting everything out, essentially. Sorting everything out south of Alexandria while Alexandria just sorts itself out for now. The first move is to take Berenice. You can see the Macron forces went in and occupied it, which they could do for free because there was no garrison there. So they just sat in it, and Anicius comes down and annihilates them quite easily. Their force wasn't very strong. And what I'm going to do is something I mentioned a few episodes back, and that's create Egypt as a liberated faction to control Berenice, because they will get some AI cheats for them and will be able to have a full stack of just that one region, and that will make it nice and defendable. It's going to stop the multiple Sassanid navies that are hanging around from easily taking it, or at least it might. So that's the plan, and Anicius will go on to go further down into Africa to take more Sassanid territory. Now in the west, we've got a very important offer from the Alemans. This changes everything right now. They want a peace treaty. I assumed we were about to see another wave of invasion, considering how many armies they have, but perhaps that first wave was too costly for them and they don't want to continue this war, so that makes our situation a lot more secure. The war is over. The war is lost, you could say. It is a strange and cruel punishment to see our devotion lead to this, and I speak as much of our devotion to the Holy Spirit as I do of our devotion to the people of Rome, of Italy, of Gaul. People who are alive and enjoying the luxuries of civilization because of us, yet scant few know it. They will not say that the Alaman hordes changed their heart in the face of the death we wrought upon them. They will say that my coot brother did it, or that their false gods did it, or perhaps they'll even find a way to say that my damned father did it. The choice is theirs. As for us, we can record the truth and treasure it, and rest at ease that at least in Iberia there are ears open to our stories. I see no way to change it. Off the back of that peace deal, I looked around and saw a chance for another peace deal to come in, because the Gaetulians in Africa here have been at war with the Western Roman Empire for a while and appear to be losing. That means they might be willing to get peace with us, even though we're not really fighting right now, and they are, plus they're willing to give us some money, so that is great. I won't negotiate for much money, really it's just the peace deal that's important here. Not that I expect them to actually come and attack us at any point in the near future, but it's nice to have that peace of mind, and we can see the Western Romans here going really hard on them, so they're probably going to lose a bit more territory there by the looks of things. Now Odysseus is going to continue on with his mission, heading down south into the northern edge of Ethiopia, where there is a Sassanid settlement that's just been sitting here, and we want to get rid of it just because in theory the Sassanids could start an army here and then come at us from the south. I think they probably would have done it already if the AI could actually think of that, but that's just going to make things secure by taking that settlement and giving it to Nobatia, a new allied faction for us. We don't want to occupy it, of course, because that's going to be really annoying to hold. So hopefully Egypt will be secure from the south now, thanks to Odysseus' little campaign. Now, while all this has been going on, I've been rebuilding the 6th Legion, the army that was under Aurelianus and was recently completely wiped out, so it's now going to start coming back into the fray after being re-recruited in Macedonia. Its first step, just going to take Nicomedia from some rebels. I think Asia might have had it and then it fell to rebels, but now it's ours, which is nice because that completes the province of Bithynia there. The army is currently led by a guy called Verus, who is another Senate commander who'll probably come back into things later on. For now, I'm actually going to replace him with Murna, the son of Septimus, even though, as I said earlier, he's not particularly suitable as a commander, and I think I've already started training him up as a governor. Septimus is just forcing him on board as his attempts to secure his part of the family line. We're actually in the next turn, so I can move this army again right now, and I'm going to bring it down towards where Septimus is at the docks, although he's not going to explicitly support Septimus. What I want to do is just have him be in reinforcement range of the docks so that he can defend it if they are attacked, because Septimus is going to try and set up an ambush. Basically, in general, I was expecting the Sassanids to counterattack me more, and they're not doing it. And one thing you can try to force the AI into attacking you is setting up ambushes, because the AI just plain old forgets you have armies when they're in ambush stance and will just walk around as if you don't have them. And it does kind of work in that one army from some other place comes over and gets ambushed. It has no chance on the balance bar, so we can just take it down. But I guess this isn't going to have a long-term effect, because taking out some random army from somewhere in the Sassanid Empire is irrelevant. They can recruit these armies virtually for free because of the difficulty level whenever they want. So really a tactic or strategy where we try and use ambushes to draw the Sassanids to come and get defeated by us isn't really going to work long-term. So after seeing this happen and realizing it wasn't really going to bear any fruit, I'm going to change tactics once again, but at least it gives us the opportunity to slightly weaken the Sassanids. More interestingly though, some of their forces just redistribute, and the particulars of how that happens is going to help us out. First though, a quick look at this. This has been going on for a while. It's going to continue to go on. So this is just an example of this happening. It's the Huns. Our puppet state Huns have been going around and just killing rebels all over our territory. So since they're kind of like a horde AI, I think they don't have any particular territory they want to guard. So there's nothing back in their home provinces. They're just wandering around fighting all of our rebels all over the place for us. And that's great because we don't have the forces to actually fight them ourselves. And because public order is absolutely abysmal all over the place, those rebels will be coming back very soon. A bit of an annoyance here when Egypt, the state we created at Berenice, decides to declare war on Nobatia, so now we've got two allies of us fighting each other. I actually sided with Nobatia, thus declaring war on Egypt in this fight, and the logic there is that it's easier for us to go and fight Egypt than it is Nobatia, plus taking Berenice would unify our province, so it's nice to have that option actually be still open to us, although it won't be open for long. Now Odysseus has come back to the north of Egypt, where we're going to get rid of this Lakhmid army that's just been standing here for a while. It hasn't been doing anything, but I'd like it to not be here. It's really annoying that they keep doing this, the Lakhmids. They keep putting armies here in the delta of the Nile, where you have a really hard time moving, so it uses all your movement points to chase after them and cut them down. The actual killing part, no problem, we'll just annihilate them with virtually no losses, but it's just wasting turns here, which is inconvenient. Now here's what I wanted to do against the Sassanids. I noticed that Tarsus had been left undefended during this turn, so what I can do is bring Eutropius down from Caesarea Eusebia to put a siege around it. The balance bar perhaps ever so slightly in their favour, but that's because the survivors of Septimus' ambush are standing nearby. And they're not going to be standing nearby much longer. We can just destroy them with an auto-resolve from Septimus there, and this will also allow Septimus to reinforce in the battle against Tarsus. So we're going to be moving the front line forward here, which is quite nice. Taking Tarsus will be no problem at all. It's just got a full stack garrison of trash, which gets not much presence on the balance bar. And the question for me is, are the Sassanids going to react to this? I thought they might react more to me conquering all of Anatolia, but they're not really counterattacking anymore for whatever reason. So we're just moving this front line forwards and seeing if they counterattack now, because we kind of want them to throw in 4 or 5 stacks into a really hard battle that will somehow win, because then we can just suddenly rush forwards and take tons of their lands. But we'll see if anything like that does happen. I'm going to get a really cheeky deal with Egypt here, where we just end the war immediately in exchange for some money and get our trade back, so that's all well and good. Overall, across the Empire right now, things are starting to look a lot more stable than they were just a few turns ago. We've got peace in the north, the Huns are helping us out, and the Sassanids aren't really putting any pressure on us. It's going pretty well. Even enslaved, the Huns proved to be a formidable weapon. The sound of their thundering hooves, once a signal of doom, was now but an announcement of the Empire's strength. Brigands and rebels fell as easily as the crops they had maliced. The lands that looked so temptingly weak to the barbarians of Germany were now too strong to be conquered. Breathing a sigh of relief, the people knew that their distant consul had done everything they had asked of him and more. A lifetime of war and strife was at last settled, and the Roman way of life could flourish beneath the loving eyes of the gods. Yes, in the end it was clear what had been accomplished, and who had accomplished it. Statues would not be enough to explain the importance of your humble author. Since Egypt is now much more secure than it was, Anicius can go and do some more campaigning further afield. We can actually start heading east into Sassanid lands. I used my fleet to scout ahead to see if anything was waiting for us, and it looked like we'd be able to move into the Holy Land and take it without much resistance, apart from the full stack garrison led by a decently high level governor, but that's not going to be enough to stop us from just stomping them down, so that's easy enough. The Holy Land will be ours, not that that means anything to Anicius or to our state as a whole, although perhaps there will be many people around our empire still interested in hearing this news. I used a spy to check around just to the north and see what exactly the Sassanids did have on the front lines. The answer is tons. There's 5 or 6 stacks just hanging around at various points right next to our settlements. They could easily all converge on us at once, but that's been the case for a while. It seems they just don't want to, so we'll continue to wait and see if any openings appear, like at Tarsus, so we can sneak forwards and try and take some more territory off them. Meanwhile, Julianus is taking his army to give his veteran warriors a chance to settle down. We're starting a new colony in Pannonia in order to somewhat stabilize the region, hopefully in the long term. At least right now it's still going to be very unstable and requires an army here to fight the constant rebels due to the immigration penalty. You get an immigration penalty for immigrants coming to your own colonies because that mechanic is slightly broken. So now that we've started a colony, we're going to have to constantly fight everyone showing up to live there for some reason. But still some more stability on the way, because we get peace with the Varynians, the guys who started our war in the north against the barbarians in the first place, giving us some extra money, which I will immediately start using on these colonies because they desperately need the investment. And we are a bit low on cash in general across the empire, so stealing cash from other nations, always a good idea right now. We get a bit of a close call over in the eastern Mediterranean when the Sassanids come to attack our fleet, which was just scouting around, and the Sassanid naval strength is very high, especially with their faction leader's navy coming into that fight. We were fortunate here in that they couldn't pursue us. We definitely would have lost if we had to fight them there, so that's all well and good. We'll just have to escape in the next turn. But with all the good news we've had recently, you just know we had some bad news coming, and here it begins. We've got some general replacements to make, which means someone has died, and you have to remember who was commanding which army name in order to work out who exactly. Right now, we're just going to give some temporary commanders, and this one here, this Eutropius, is another son of Septimus in a confusing twist, so there's a couple of Eutropiuses going around right now. And we actually had a second death to deal with, so Legio 5 and 1 need new commanders. I'll make cost to the commander of 1 for now, not actually remembering where either of these forces were, although of course I had sneaking suspicions because, as I've already mentioned, there are 2 commanders who were due to be leaving the campaign, and both of them have gone at once. It's both Julianus and Uther have died of natural causes, living to ripe old ages through a variety of wars, so they're lucky in that regard. This means we're now actually going to have financial difficulties because both of those officers were making our armies much cheaper, so our income's gone down, but the 2 armies themselves may not need that leadership in the near future because their fronts are pretty stable thanks to the efforts of their previous leaders. So now the entire second generation of our family has passed away. We're going to be looking at the 3rd and 4th from now on, with various new officers coming into the fray as we enter hopefully a new phase of this campaign, a new phase of stability and expansion. The turn of the 450s had seen a restoration of powers to the Roman Senate. That is, the Senate in Rome, not to be confused with the mostly irrelevant yet autonomous senates of Iberia and Britannia. The family of Constantinus, the dynasty of rulers risen by rebellion against the Roman Empire, had been integrated into the new Roman administration and accepted, via their meritorious achievements, as rightful members of the ruling class. The memory of their origin in Britannia grew ever more distant. Indeed, the deaths of Uther and Julianus in the early weeks of the year 453 left no more members of the Britannian house who had actually been born in Britannia, let alone been there. Resultantly, all the wreaths and ranks the Senate had to offer were being lain on the shoulders of Anicius, Septimus and Eutropius, the sons of the conquering zealot Constans, who had created the Roman Senate and its system of offices anew. This increased unity and, more importantly, the centralized taxation system meant more resources were available for the war that the same Constans had flippantly started, the World War, the war with the Sassanid Empire and its endless confederated lands. Command in this war was now entirely in the hands of Septimus, the man forced to mastermind his father's military quagmire. His overall plan was simple: gather up everything available to him and put a sword to the Sassanids' throat. To begin, he called upon the army that had enslaved the Huns, the army that had propelled Consul Julianus to fame and earned him a posthumous triumph in the streets of Rome. Thanks to the military succession laws established by Constans and Constantinus, the rank of consul was hereditary. Julianus had no children, giving Septimus a chance to place his own son, Eutropius the Younger, into the highly sought-after office, technically overreaching his own position as Magister Militum. The Senate had won itself the power to veto such contestable inheritances, but chose not to do so in the light of their own lack of an alternative candidate. Indeed, the only man popular enough in Rome to flourish as consul was Septimus himself. So Eutropius took command of what remained of Julianus's legions and began marching them to the distant battlefront. Meanwhile, on said battlefront, the nonchalant general Anicius had pushed the frontier with a sudden raid on Nova Trajana Bostra. He cared not for the danger of it, but it is likely he did not realize how valuable a target he had become. And while it was outside of his jurisdiction as proconsul for Africa, it is unclear whether he was even aware that his power was limited to a jurisdiction. Whatever the case, it was a cause for cheer for Septimus, who now saw that a chance to create a secure supply route from Anatolia to Egypt was about to arise. Seeing his foe's attention diverted, he sent his eldest son, known as Murena, to secure the Sassanid naval base on the island of Rhodes. Not entirely sure how to proceed, and perhaps influenced by his partiality for the lively culture of the enemy, Murena set the base to siege and hoped for a quick resolution. The end to his quest would indeed come sooner than he had expected, but he had not the experience to see it quite yet. Further north, Eutropius the Elder was sent back to his stomping grounds in Pontus to secure the end of the front line against rebellion and Arian raids. In his own mind, he sought to divert from the course as soon as possible to engage the Sassanids in eastern Anatolia, an endeavour that would bring the front line down to the flanks of Syria if successful. He would indeed get his engagement with the Sassanids soon, albeit on unexpected terms. Such were the opening moves in the new, sanctified and coordinated war with the Roman Empire's greatest rival. 3 members of the Constantinus dynasty conducting 3 operations at the beck and call of the family head and supreme commander of the world's largest military force, with whom they all shared blood. West would battle East, just as they had done for hundreds of years under different banners but not so different leaders. The familiarity of the Grand Campaign was a signal to the nobles of the empire that the normal state of affairs from the centuries prior was set to return. The dangerous dive into oblivion that the empire had taken at the end of the 4th century had been reversed by a new breed of pilot wrestling their way to the controls. If proof was needed that the old-fashioned ways were what worked, it would come from a Roman Empire fully restored by soldiers who dedicated their every cut to the celestial god of war, Mars, wearing gear that struck fear into the blood of any descended from Rome's old conquests. A combination of the old and new would strengthen both. The freedom and principled statesmanship of old Rome met the efficient authoritarian war machine of the new. Neither system had lasted on its own, but perhaps together there would be a chance to forge a union of all the known peoples of the world, with Rome as the highest master. That's the end of this episode and hopefully of this phase of the campaign. So we'll move into a new phase where we take the full might of the Empire and throw it against the Sassanids to see if we can finally break them down. Although we're going to see some major battles as the Sassanids prove they are well able to throw things right back at us in the next episode of Fields of Mars.